We've heard a lot. People are saying they need to find out what they have with the two rookie quarterbacks. I understand that. I approach it a little differently. I've been saying I think the Browns franchise quarterback, they don't think it's on the roster right now. Now, if Kenny Pickett or Shador Sanders or Dylan Gabriel go out and play really, really well, then they think about it. But remember, Baker Mayfield, that mid-range between 15 and 20 in the league wasn't good enough. So I think their quarterback of the future is likely in the draft. ESPN's Field Yates talking about the Browns' positioning in that 2026 draft.
What team is better positioned next April to be in a position or to be in a spot to draft a quarterback? The answer is nobody, because the Rams also have 2 first-round picks. The Rams are focused on winning the Super Bowl this year, and the Browns, I think they want to improve. Obviously, right? You picked number 2 last year. You had a second overall pick.
Yeah.
I look at this roster and I look at this division and I think to myself, like, there's a chance they could be, 6-11 this year or something like that. Yeah. And I loved the bet on Jacksonville's downside. I loved it. As difficult as it is to not have Travis Hunter as a Cleveland Brown.
Yeah.
You might have Mason Graham and you mentioned some of those quarterbacks, the Norris Sellers, Arch Manning, Sam Levitt from Arizona State, Cade Klubnik from Clemson. There is this crazy Drew Aller from Penn State you mentioned, Garrett Nussmeier from LSU. At this point of the scouting calendar, the biggest difference between this year and last year's class is twofold. One, there are a couple of players who, if they stay on a trajectory, have such freaky traits that the upside is bigger than any quarterback, or at least in the same breadth as Cam Ward, who went first overall this past year. Yeah. Second thing is that, we always say, like, hey, what quarterback is going to make that Joe Burrow or Jaden Daniels leap? There are so many more candidates this year compared to last year.
And again, we've talked about that before. Who's it going to be? I'm not sure. There will be somebody from that group that plays their way into, wow, this guy's going to be a really good NFL quarterback.
100%. And I do want to go to something Field said about Arch Manning. For all intents and purposes, I've got a quarterback, top 5 ranking coming up in the next week or two, I think. For all intents and purposes, I'm not including Arch Manning in any of these discussions, any of these mock drafts, until there's any indication he's going to come out in this draft, because it seems like the most popular take is he's not going to. That's the belief, based on some of the reporting that's out there. And for a guy who's thrown not even 100 passes, unless he has a Joe Burrow 2019 type season, there's no reason for him to go into the NFL. Now with guys getting extra money from NIL, he should stay in school, get that extra year development, because you're seeing that with a bunch of these other guys. Field mentioned Garrett Nussmeier and Drew Aller, 2 guys that are going to be in my top 5 that easily could have been in this past April's draft, that are both going back. The guy I love the most in this class is Lenoris Sells from South Carolina. I mean, I just got a chance to watch some of him actually just yesterday, and he is one of the most unique quarterbacks you'll ever see. 242 pounds, fast, ridiculous arm talent, strength, accuracy. Just got to work on his decision making and cut down on the turnovers. One guy that he didn't mention that I'm really intrigued to see now that he's in the Big Ten is Fernando Mendoza from Indiana. People might not know that name because he played at Cal last season, but this is a really enticing quarterback. 6'5", 225, incredibly mobile, put up really good numbers for a Cal team that has typically not been very good. Got sacked 40 times, but we know whether that's on him or Cal's offensive line. I don't know. So I'm excited to see how he looks at Indiana. We saw how good the Hoosiers offense was last season with Curtis Rourke. With Fernando Mendoza, you're talking about a guy who has legitimate first-round talent going to a team in Indiana that's suddenly, one of the more intriguing programs of the Big Ten to watch. So bottom line is, there's no question there's going to be a lot of really good quarterback options for the Browns. Question is, are they going to be in a position to get one of those guys based on either where they finish or where Jacksonville finishes at the end of the season?